G'day! Today we're going to take a look at a game called Xkobo and its latest successor, Kobo Deluxe. Xkobo is an open source project originally started by Akira Higuchi back in 1995. It's an arcade game for the X Windows system inspired by an older arcade game called Bosconian, made by Namco in 1981. Bosconian was a commercial success in Japan, but didn't have that same success elsewhere, so it didn't become a household name like Pac-Man and Space Invaders did. It was, however, influential as it influenced Time Pilot and Sinistar, which would come out later. There's not a lot of information about how Xkobo was conceived out there on the internet, but when you look at Bosconian and Xkobo side by side, you can see that there was clearly some inspiration here. They have a lot in common, such as the starship that shoots both backwards and forwards at the same time, the number of fighters flying around that you have to dodge and shoot, and the bases that you have to destroy, as well as some other features such as the radar. There are some differences as well, such as the different behaviour of the flying enemies, and also the different structure of the enemy bases, which gradually get larger with each stage. Some of the later stages have much larger bases and far fewer of them, but they're much more dangerous as there's more projectiles coming at you from the end nodes. There are some technical differences between Xkobo and Bosconian though, such as there not being any sound on Xkobo. My suspicion is this is because there wasn't a good cross-platform sound library that covered all of the different Unixes that were available at the time. Another obvious difference is that Xkobo had to make use of a mouse or a keyboard for the control scheme instead of a nice 8-way joystick, and this is just simply because most Unix workstations didn't have provisions for a joystick. Here is Xkobo running on my SPARCstation 20. I apologise for the flicker. I don't have a decent camera to capture a CRT yet, so this is kind of unavoidable for me. You'll notice that Xkobo runs quite well on a SPARCstation 20. My machine is not particularly fast, but it does run reasonably well. There is a little bit of slowdown, however, and the screen is tiny, so it's not the best play situation for this game. I did try a few command line options, one to double the window size, and one to use a faster algorithm. The doubled window size was quite good. It did make it easier to see and play, but there was still slowdown even with the faster algorithms. I did notice that most of the CPU was being devoted to the X server, so a system with a faster frame buffer would probably work better with this game. Normally with an arcade game that would be all there is, as the gameplay is fairly simple and there's not much really to talk about. But here we have an updated version of the game by David Olofsson called Kobo Deluxe. Looking at his website, it seems like he started it in around 2001 and last did an update in about 2007. What Kobo Deluxe brings to the table is obviously updated graphics and some nice sound. Otherwise, it actually plays very much the same as the original Xkobo. In fact, if you pick Classic difficulty, you'll get an identical experience to the original game. The other difficulty settings will give you slightly different gameplay depending on which one you pick. The main difference being that you have health for your ship and a heat gauge for each of the forward and rear weapons. The health gauge is pretty self-explanatory, but the heat gauge is a little bit different. Basically, as you fire your weapons, they heat up, and when they hit the maximum, they can't fire for a period of time until they cool down. Each difficulty level seems to have its own different rate of cooling for the weapons, thus limiting how fast you can fire them. The lower difficulty levels, Newbie and Gamer, both allow you to have quite a high rate of fire. The higher levels, Elite and God, have a significantly lower rate of fire at maximum heat. You can, however, let your guns cool down and get a higher fire rate for a short period of time if you fire them in bursts, so I suppose this might be where the increased level of skill comes from. Higher difficulty levels do seem to make things move a little bit faster, but the main difference other than rate of fire is how much health you lose when you get hit, with the higher difficulty modes being much closer to the classic difficulty by allowing you only a few hits before you're destroyed. There are 4 difficulty levels, with newbie being the easiest. It offers you the most hits before you're destroyed, and also the most amount of gunfire that you can put out. The game modes after that basically scale down how many hits you can take and how many bullets you put out. Gamer being next, Epic being after that, and God being the last one. I'd say Epic is probably the closest in difficulty to the classic game mode. Kobo Deluxe is also more difficult for your hardware, being completely unplayable on a SparkStation 20. At least mine with 50 MHz processors in it. A faster machine such as my Ultra 5 may be able to play the game, but I haven't tried it yet to verify that. This game does benefit from hardware acceleration, so I think an old Pentium 2 machine that runs at about 300 MHz would probably work quite well with a TNT2 graphics card or something like that. Because Kobo Deluxe uses the STL game library, it is available on many more operating systems than just Unix ones, so if you do a little bit of googling, you should be able to find a binary package to download. That's pretty much all I've got to say about Kobo Deluxe and xkobo. I hope you enjoyed today's video, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.